Well, hello everyone. We're back again. Just happy to be here. Another show, another episode, Amp Life Talk Radio. I want to welcome everybody back in. Yes, I still have the new look going where I stand up and do my show. So if you're looking at me over on Facebook, you're going to see me standing up. I try not to sit down during the show now because uh, just not as comfortable. And I get to talk with my hands. I'm a hand talker. So, one of the things I wanted to say to you guys is welcome back. I appreciate everyone uh, being patient with us last week. Unfortunately, we had something happen with a good friend of mine named Ronald Mann. He passed away, and I dedicated my show to him. I wanted to replay his episode that he was on the show and try and just pay some respect to a really good man, a really good advocate for amputees in the jujitsu world. Ron, you will surely be missed. In fact, I took this issue of Amp Life or Amp Nation magazine to dedicate to his legacy, his story, and I hope that all of you will check that out when it comes out. I dedicated that issue to him. He's on the cover and he has his feature story in there. So, welcome back, everyone. Again, remember, we do have a call in line 888-979-9334. Let's get that out of the way. So, if you want to call in, you can. Don't call in too soon because I'm still trying to get ready. But when we get into the show tonight, I do want to hear from you and hear some of your stories. My apologies for the fan sound in the background. But again, as you can see, my studio is pretty much locked tight. There's no breeze in here. And it's rather nice and cool here in the Modesto area. So um, we have no AC running today. So I'm in the hot box with a little fan. So if you hear a little buzzing, pardon it, but I do have to stay a little bit cool in here. Now, one of the things I did want to do for those of you that can see me on Facebook, those of you that log into that and look, I'm reaching across my room to grab something because I've been telling you guys about these. And yes, the shirts are ready. I was going to wear one tonight, but I'm not. And it's the straight out of leg shirt. So, yes, see it. This is a big one for me. They are ready. So if you click on that link, it will take you to PayPal where you can pay for a shirt and you can get a shirt ordered. Be patient with me because I print them. I print every last one of them, and we've only got about like three or four that I've actually did some time printing because I'm not going to print a bunch if we're not really moving those. And keep in mind everything's limited. I've been actually making a lot of different designs for some shirts. So you're probably going to see after my Spartan race this month, which is at the end of the month, you're going to see a lot more shirts go up. But right now I'm kind of busy producing the magazine, working, and basically doing all these things, man. So, but the shirts are here. The hot press is over there by the heat press is over there by me. We are making those shirts, so you guys can definitely. When I get some of these done, I think you're going to really like some of the cool designs that we've got coming up. But the straight out of leg shirt, you're probably going to want to get one of those because that's going to be for my race team when we're in um, up in Tahoe and in Laughlin. I'm giving those shirts to my race team. We're all adaptive athletes. We're all missing legs. so, uh, so it's going to be kind of cool to have a shirt that just symbolizes us as a race team and what we do. So I want to kind of cover all that stuff before we really got into the show. Hey man, I'm so thankful for you guys. Thanks for everybody tuning in. Amp Nation is taking off, man. The magazine is looking really good. It's gonna be something that I think all of you are gonna like because it's for professionals, it's for the patients. So I think everybody's gonna get something out of that. We've got a cool section in there where we're gonna be doing. I don't want to give away anything, man. I really don't. So make sure if you want to get that digital magazine, you want to get a copy of it, you have to send me an email that says add me at subscribe at ampnationmagazine.com. Shoot me an email. I'll put you on the mail list. I know some of you have sent me an email and added yourself. I haven't got back to you yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wait until this issue is done, and then I'm going to send you that link. And hopefully when you get the link to the magazine, you will get that one, and I'll try and add all the other links to all the other magazines in there. So some cool stuff really happening. But tonight, without any further ado, let's get into the show. And I want to give proper thanks to my main man, Rich, who helped me out with another sound clip, which I'm going to play tonight for one of my breaks. And he does my opener for my show. Rich, I'm so thankful for your talents. You're an awesome man to make me sound like I actually know what I'm doing here. Sylvester, what's going on from Indianapolis? Hey, Clarence. I'm just saying hi to a couple people real quick before we jump into the show. Michael, what's going on? And my lovely, lovely wife and my assistant who helps me out, Heather. She's checking my sound and making sure I'm doing good in here. Okay, guys. Tonight, we're going to be talking about you got stump issues. That's what the episode is called tonight. Got stumps, and it says issues because we all have issues as amputees with our stumps. That's probably the number one thing I hear with amputees, and the number one thing I read when I'm looking at all your social media posts. The stump is the number one topic on all these sites. You know, and it's kind of cool. I've been doing this for almost 4 years now. And it's kind of funny. I'm seeing all these people pop up now and do podcasts for amputees. I like to kind of say I was the starter of all that. So you guys don't forget me here, man, and go, liking somebody else's stuff and not liking mine. I want to keep you guys with me, but it does look like there's a lot of people putting some really good stuff up, man. So the amputee community is being served very well by some of the professionals that I see out there doing stuff. So kudos to you, gentlemen and ladies, who are now stepping into the podcast arena and doing live broadcast on Facebook and stepping into the podcast world of amputees. Tonight, we're talking about stumps. I want to welcome all of you, new and old, to another episode of Amp Life Talk Radio. Living with limb loss can be challenging. You have questions, concerns, and can feel alone in this process. I'm Sean Harrison. I'm a certified peer visitor for Amputee Coalition of America, and I do peer work with Empower. So I definitely do a lot of work on the plane of mentoring and doing peer visits. I will be your host and guide as we go through this process. Hopefully you'll join me every Wednesday at 6 p.m. here, and we'll talk about all these different issues and topics, and I'll hear from you and hear your story as we go through this process together. It's nice having someone along with you as you become acquainted with living with the limb loss. And that's why I'm here. That's why I did this show, to empower amputees to reach their full potential through communication, education, and inspiration. Amp Life Talk Radio is a show for amputees and those affected by limb loss. If you're an amputee, the biggest thing I want you to know is that you are not alone. So, problems with our stumps, issues with stumps, and stump issues. Problems in the amputated stump occur frequently in lower limb amputees, as well as uppers. These problems can range from skin defects to serious vascular issues to rashes, all kinds of stuff, man. But the thing is they all have a major impact on our way of life, our quality of life. When our stump is acting up, we're just not happy, man. Things aren't going good. We tend to get a little grumpy when that happens. Amputees need to be taught to care for their stumps by either a nurse or a doctor or someone, a physical therapist. It's extremely important that you master these techniques of caring for your stump. If we'll say if you're not getting that, please reach out to me. I'll try and put you in touch with some resources, but it is so important that you take care of your stump, or the professional term, residual limb. But tonight, we're going to be calling it a stump. So everybody bear with me. I hope there's nobody sensitive out there that can't handle stump talk. Um, the utmost attention is not given to this, to your stump, and you don't take care of it, it can easily turn into big problems for you, even to the point to where you will not be able to use your prosthetic device. So it is very important that you understand you have to take care of your stump. I hope all of you out there understand the importance of taking care of your stump, doing the things you need to do to it to make sure it keeps you up and moving. Now, washing the stump. As we kind of get into some of the parts of this, I'm just going to I didn't really do a typical show where we're going to get into segments and stuff like that. I'm just going to break this down into the categories that I kind of wrote it from all the research I just did online to basically kind of help you understand, whether you're new or old at being an amputee. A good talk about stumps never ever hurts, because I learn stuff daily about taking care of my stump and things that I need to do, whether it's from other amputees or from other professionals that understand something better than me with this. It doesn't matter. You can get a tip from anybody at any given time. So one of the things I want to get into is we're going to get into washing your stump. Why is that so important? Cleanliness, man, hygiene. We got to make sure we're taking care of the stump from a clean aspect. After you leave the hospital, your stump typically is not healed. Your stump is still in a very tender state, we'll say. You might have some sutures or staples in there. So when do we get to wash this thing, man? I know a lot of people want to know that. Well, typically, washing your stump comes a little bit further down the road, because you've got some other things you need to do, especially if you're a diabetic, you're in trauma. Depending on how you lost your limb, it's going to be a while before we get to that. But let's say you're at that point to where you can wash your stump. How do we do that? I just talked to a patient today about that. He was trying to use baby wipes, and he had on sturdy strips, and he's at a point to where he can actually be showering and washing his leg, and he's not. And I had to explain to him why it's important for him to get in there and bathe and take care of that leg to break away all that dead skin and loosen up stuff. And he was terrified to touch it. So if you're at that point to where you can wash your stump, how should we do that? How should you wash your stump? Well, at least let's try and say once every day. We want to be doing that. Okay. In summertime, if you are completely healed and you're using your prosthetic device, you're probably going to be using it or washing it even more. Okay. Mild soapy water. If you still have any type of scabs or sturdy strips on, wash your stump like you're washing your hands. That's the best advice I can give you if you are still at a point to where you're not in a prosthetic device and you haven't completely got out of the healing phase yet. Get your hands soapy. Just scrub that thing like you're washing your hands. No scratching, just how you wash your hands, man. How you just sit there at a sink and wash your hands real good. That's what you're going to do to your stump. Of course, we want to dry our stump. We want to come out of the shower and dry the stump. We want to take some time to pat it dry and make sure that there's no liquid water on the stump before we go to the next stage of whatever we're doing, whether you're in a prosthetic or not. Thoroughly and carefully dry your stump. It is not necessary to use bleach or strong soaps or antibacterial, or what you put on your body is pretty much good. And for peak's sakes, man, do not be using like dish soap and detergents on your leg, man. I hear some stories out there sometimes. People using Cascade and all kinds of stuff on legs. Boy, you're talking about you're looking at a lot of bad things that can go wrong if you're doing that. Don't be doing that, okay? Uh, don't be using all those harsh things. It's skin, man. It's just your skin. You don't really have to do anything crazy to clean your skin. It's about the same thing you do when you're washing your hands. You know, um, you should usually wash the stump at night. That's always a good thing. If you've been in your prosthetic device, you're out wearing it, even if you haven't healed yet, you get up, you're probably going to wash it in the morning. You get ready for bed at night, you can wash it again, you can shower. The thing with new amputees who have not got to the prosthetic phase yet, and you just had an amputation, the big concern that doctors have and surgeons have is they don't want you taking a hot bath and submerging your leg in a hot bath, you know, underwater, because some things can go wrong if there's any type of little holes or leaks. That could lead to some bad stuff. So just be safe, take a shower. I think everybody's pretty much on the shower tip right now. As far as it's just quick, it's easier, especially if you're an amputee. It's probably a little bit safer for you, because I know when I get this big old body in a tub, it's hard to get out, man. You got one foot and it's soapy and everything's slipping around. You know, that can turn into a real ugly scene real quick. So, washing the stump, we want to get into some good habits of taking baths and cleaning our legs. Uh, Nothing harsh, no harsh chemicals or anything like that. I would not recommend anything like that. If you want more information on skincare and how the skin works, I actually did a podcast on that. Look it up and just kind of listen to that. I got a little bit more in depth with how skin works and things you can do to really take care of your skin, especially on your stump or your residual limb. Now, skincare and stump hygiene. Boy, this is a good topic, because I think the first thing I want to say is this: if you have a liner, clean them. If you got them, clean them, because I run into people who unfortunately are not educated on cleaning liners, and it's pretty nasty. So if you have liners, use it wash it after every use. I think that's some confusion in that topic. Wash it after every use if you have a prosthetic liner. Now, if you are not at that point, you don't have a prosthetic liner, and you're a new amputee, whether you have staples or sutures or steri strips, surgical tape on your limb, you are at a point to where hygiene is even more important also. If you have pets, don't let your dogs lick on your limb and do all these different things. I know people have all these concepts about, well, a dog's tongue is cleaner than, well, I'm sorry. I have had people that have been down that road, and you don't want to be that person that shows up to the doctor's office with maggots in your limb, because dogs tend to attract flies. Flies can lay larvae. If there's any type of opening, even for a split second, if a fly lands on your residual limb, they can plant eggs in your incision line. I've seen it happen. Don't test it. So be careful with having pets and animals around. Dogs have sharp feet, their little toenails. One slip and you could get scratched, or something could happen there. So try to be careful with stuff like that. It's just a hygiene issue. Not saying your dogs are dirty or filthy or anything like that, but just be very careful if you do have pets, how they jump on the bed and do different things with you around your limb if it is not completely healed. Now, the skin of the residual limb sustains uh, many stresses, making good skincare essential to taking care of your limb and getting back on your feet. The skin and tissue, the stump, was not designed for weight bearing. So that's the first thing we need to talk about. You've just had your foot amputated. Now you've got a piece of skin that it's not ready to have something placed on it that you have to stand up and put all this weight and uneven pressures on and frictions against the skin. especially near the brim of the prosthetic socket. So I see a lot of people sometimes posting pictures on social media, putting up their leg. Man, don't take time to post your leg gushing or oozing something. Take the time to get to the ER. I hope some of you are doing that instead of, ooh, let me post this on Facebook and ask somebody if they've ever had. No, 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 no. Don't do that, man. Just if you got something going on, get to the hospital, get to the ER, get that taken care of. And then afterwards, if you happen to have a picture, yeah, post a good informative post like, hey, the other day I was at home and this happened, but I went to the ER. Make sure you put in the post, I went to the ER and got my leg checked out. This is afterwards, because people blow your post up thinking that's you sitting there and they're trying to help you. And then, you know, 60, 70 comments down into it, you finally say something. Oh yeah, I went to the doctor. Well, save us all that stress and us trying to help you. Let us know right off the bat. This was after the fact, after I came back from the ER. This is what my leg looked like, but I went and got it taken care of. I see a lot of that sometimes. I just wanted to say that. So skincare, stump hygiene, always important. Your leg is not meant, to be under some of the stresses and conditions that you're going to be putting it in once you put on that prosthetic device. Proper stump hygiene is essential to making sure your skin is cared for and is able to handle the pressures, the stress, and all the different frictions that you're going to be putting it under when you put on a liner and start walking in a prosthetic device. An amputee has a smaller surface, we'll say, area of skin, making the body's natural cooling mechanism less effective. When you lose a limb, you'll hear people talking a lot about that, hot and coldness in limbs. Well, that's because you're missing a big chunk of yourself. So yeah, differential in we'll say thermostat or temperature can affect you in different ways. Prosthetic socks, they tend to, with the liner, they tend to trap sweat against the skin. The sweating of the stump and preventing air from circulating around it to dry it, these small disorders can quickly get out of hand. Let's say in Arizona, Modesto, California, where you have some pretty warm temperatures that can get up to, 100, 110, 115. These moist environments are breeding grounds of bacteria. And you need to just make sure that hygiene is being taken care of. It is one of the most important things that you're going to need to do in situations like that. If it's not properly treated, this could lead to more serious conditions, preventing you as an amputee from wearing your prosthetic device until you get healed or this situation gets better. So be aware of that in those environments. Hygiene, taking care of your skin, just over time, just, the skin tissue of the residual limb, it's going to start to show some effects. I think a lot of us have those looks on our limb, a battle tested stump that has been through it. Everybody's stump has a little wear and tear on it. So you newbies, you will soon have the same type of conditioned stump that we have. That's called the mature stump. Or if you want to go down my terms, I call it battle tested. That leg has been put through it. You will notice some differences in the way your leg looks from when you first got your amputation up to, let's say, 2-3 years into a prosthetic socket and wearing it. Don't freak out. Just keep your eye on just the normal things: wounds, cuts, scrapes, blisters, all those different things, and get help immediately. Don't post to Instagram and Facebook. Okay, gang? Got to take care of Amp Nation out there, keep you guys up and moving, keep you out there, keeping the world on its toes. Now, how the skin works, that is That was covered in a podcast that I did way back. Well, not prior to it was this year, so you can find it. But I'm not going to get too technical on how skin works. But the body's skin is very resilient. It's amazing. It's an elastic cover which is able to repair itself. It's able to heal itself. It's able to be put under all these extreme conditions and just keep coming back, man. It's an amazing thing. But if we don't do the things we need to do to help it, it can turn on us. And that's why having some information on how the skin works definitely will help you as an amputee taking care of your residual limb or your stump. Amputees notice that, say, when they finally get to a point to where they're wearing a socket, amputees notice this uh, at areas where the socket and bone meet. So you have some bony prominences in your leg, and those areas tend to absorb or take pressure in a more negative fashion than some of the more meaty portions of your leg. So be aware of that. Bony little portions on your leg, on your stump, can not be so well in situations. So what you'll see is you'll see black skin. Your skin will get really dark around these areas. So we need to know how. What do we do for that? My thing is I love A&D ointment, man. Ooh, that stuff is good. And there's some other products out there. I saw at the amputee store, they have a wide variety of salves and different things like that. It's hard to say. So the thing I'll say to you is just try something. If it works for you, that's work that works for you. Everything doesn't work for every single amputee. We're all different. So find something, try it. If it works for you, then do that. The reason I tend to use some of the A&D ointment is because it lessens the friction in those little bony areas. So instead of my skin being really pounded and put under a lot of stress and friction there, a little A&D ointment, just a little bit, helps that skin. One, it moves a little bit better, and it's not because when you put on your liner, man, it sticks, man. That thing's like glue. That thing is worse than duct tape, man. So those liners can be pretty sticky when you first put them on. So in some of those areas like the back of the knee, just below the knee, some of my little bony areas, the very distal end tibial bone, I put just little dabs of A&D ointment there because those are some of the hot spots for me. You may be different depending on your residual limb and what type of prosthetic you're wearing, above or below knee. But I found that works for me. I don't use Vaseline or any type of special salve. I use A&D ointment. So figure it out. But and also when I take a shower, I come out of the shower, before I lay down in bed, I typically will take and treat my entire leg with some of that, especially the top portion where your liner is at. It tends to pull on that skin and make it dry and itchy. I just rub a nice coat of A&D ointment on my entire leg before I go to bed to try and treat it before the next day. And you'll find if you do that and you put enough on, and when you get up in the morning, you go to touch your leg, it feels nice and soft. So treat your leg, man. Treat your skin good. How your skin works, your skin's going to work how you treat it. Amputees, uh, they do have a reduced skin surface due to a missing body part. And we need to be very aware of that difference and how it plays on us. Perspiration, hot, cold, all these different extremes that we can tend to put our body through. So try some stuff out. Hey, man, if you want to try the A&D ointment, it may work for you, it may not, but there's a lot of products out there. Guys, I am going to take a quick break and we're going to come back into main causes of skin disorders. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Right now, I need to get a little drink of water and I'm going to take a quick break and we're going to come right back to that. So don't go nowhere. All right, guys, I'm back and just needed to wet my whistles, man. I got to drink a lot of water because I got my Spartan race coming up. And I want to say and give out a big thanks to my main man, Rich, at Soul Effective Productions for that nice little tune there. That's a ukulele. Um, he always gives me nice little tunes so I can do different things where if I need to take a break. And Rich, I want to say thanks for that. That is an awesome tune, and I'm glad you let us have that over here AMP Life Talk Radio, a show for amputees. Now, main cause of skin disorders, no matter how hard all of us or you try to prevent them, things are going to happen. It's just the way it is. Some of us have, um, dermatitis, all different types of things going on, sores, abrasions. Uh, these things can be numerous reasons for the skin issues that we're going to face. So, the first thing I want to say is this: if you do have some type of skin disorder, consult with your physician and try and figure out what is going to be the best course of treatment for you. Don't just guess, don't listen to another amputee. It's okay to listen to each other, but it's your health that you're gambling with. So, my suggestion to you is this: always, always, always talk with your doctor before you do anything. Even with me, I am not, some guy that's going to sit here and tell you, listen to what I say. Hey, I'm an amputee with a talk show and I have a little experience, but I know when it all comes down to it, consult with your physicians, consult with your doctors, especially with stuff like this. Um, the pressure of the socket against the stump causes trauma. I don't know if anybody ever thought about it that way, but if you really want to get down to the bare knuckles of how prosthetics work and the effects that it has on your stump, basically your leg is going through a traumatic experience every time you wear your socket. The trauma to the skin and the tissue, perspiration builds up, heat, friction, abrasions, all these things are going down inside that socket against your stump. So when we talk about got stump issues, yes, you're going to have some stump issues. Okay. So we need to know how to take care of those. And if you have any type of skin disorders, please, please, please go get those checked out. Check with a professional, someone who knows you, who can potentially get you in front of a specialist and do things like that. Consult with your practitioner. They may have some good ideas on some of the products that are out there, some of the sheaths, some of the cool temp liners, different things like that. They may have some suggestions for you depending on the level of activity that you are trying to do as an amputee. Okay, guys, I want to see you guys up and moving and grooving and doing stuff. Um, that's so, so important, especially in this day and age. Some of you might be allergic to silicone or some of the different products or materials that they use in some of the liners and things that are going up to your skin because your liners do form a very intimate fit. So check that kind of stuff out. Skin problems could even prevent you uh, from being able to live the life you want, go to work, play with your kids, go skiing. If these conditions are not handled properly, especially if you know you have some type of skin disorder from the get go, you want to get that addressed very, very soon and don't let it lag or become a bigger issue than what you know it could potentially do. Okay. So check on that kind of stuff. I'm not going to go down the whole list of all the different skin disorders. We've covered these in different shows, but if you do have one, get with your doctor and talk with him about that. Now, one of the things I do want to talk about, especially with your stump, is pistoning. As perspiration builds up within the socket, I know some of you've done this. I call it farting. Did I just say that? Man, is the FCC going to get me for saying farting? Well, I hope they don't. I hope they don't. But you know what I'm talking about. When you're walking, you've been doing something, a strenuous exercise, walking out in the heat, and that perspiration starts to build up inside that socket, or we'll say inside your liner. It can lead to stump pistoning or moving around within the socket. which in turn can affect your skin and cause abrasions. So when you get that sound coming out of your leg, you got some air or something going on in there. We want to, take a moment to stop and check everything. Now, if you're wearing your socket and you don't have socks on and you got a pin system or a suction system and your leg starts to shrink, you can still have the same type of effect because you are now losing volume, and your socket is a dynamic thing. It stays, well, your socket is static. It's going to stay the same. Your leg is dynamic. It's going to fluctuate and change size. When we get that happening, we want to make sure we're paying attention to that, because this can cause a lot of different things at the distal end of your leg, bottoming out, hitting that tibial bone on the very bottom of the prosthesis. And if you have any type of neuropathy where you can't feel, before you know it, you've got a blister. You got a big problem on your hands. So make sure you're paying attention to all these different skin issues. I have a rule for all my patients, and that rule is very, very simply, I tell all my patients, check your skin before and after every use with your prosthetic device. I had to catch my mic there. It's trying to drop on me, man. You don't want to hear that loud thump. So check all that stuff before and after you do anything. Other than that, the biggest thing I can say to you guys about taking care of your stump is just get yourself a hand mirror, check with doctors, check with your practitioners. Your prosthetist will be able to discuss with you and suggest possible ways of dealing with whatever you're dealing with. But these are the people you really want to consult with when you find that you're having some type of issue with skin breakdown or skin issues in your prosthetic device. Reach out to these professionals and try and get them to help you out, bounce stuff off of them. Another thing that we're really concerned about with our stump, bacteria and these little teeny organisms are everywhere. Okay. Bacteria is everywhere, man. MRSA, all that stuff's everywhere, including living on your skin. Some of the same, some of these are, they're harmless, while others can cause major infections if we are not keeping up with proper hygiene, skin care, and taking care of our stump. We get cuts, bruises, different things like that. Something can get into our bloodstream, get into that wound, or get into that little cut. We want to make sure we're taking care of that and treating that properly and well. So keep an eye on stuff like that. Before and after use, always check your skin. It is just one of the most, common sense, no-brainer things to do. Before you put on your leg, check it. Make sure everything's good, because what you don't want to do is get up and wear your leg, get home, and then there's something going on. And if you never looked at it, you don't know when that happened or when it didn't happen. So make sure you are looking at your leg before and after every use, before you put your prosthetic on and after you take your prosthetic off. Inspect your stump for issues. It's probably one of the best pieces of advice I can give you as a new amputee. I'm moving mics around here, people, because things moved on me. Well, I think it's because I'm moving around. I'm standing and talking and gyrating and jiving in here. If you see me on Facebook, you'll be laughing. Just do that. It's just smart practice. It's a good way to know if something has happened to your leg or to your limb. Bacteria, that's what we want to prevent, and that's what we want to keep an eye out for. That's why we check and we clean and we keep good hygiene. Your socket is enclosed. It is like you're in science class and you're doing all the stuff with those little incubators and you're breeding certain that's your leg inside of a liner. That's the type of environment that you have. So we want to make sure we are taking care of hygiene. Hygiene becomes no doubt the most important of things that we need to check under the circumstances that our leg can find itself, or our stump can find itself, when we're out and we're using our leg and we're walking around and doing different things. Make sure you're checking that, guys. Okay. Now let's get into how these skin disorders, and if we don't check and deal with our skin, how some of these things can affect us. This is some of the stuff that we want to pay attention to. I got to lift my mic way up. It's dropping on me. So, things we want to do is things we want to look out for are real simple. Things we want to do, we want to, for sure, we want to check our skin daily. Skin as the first point of contact with the socket of our artificial limb needs to be healthy. It needs to be able to support you as the amputee, with you being active, out there doing stuff, walking around, living your life, moving, grooving, doing all the things you do. Your skin is so important. Uh, the following of what I'm going to talk about are some of the problems that may result if you don't do things you need to be doing. Okay. Rashes and abrasions. We see those a lot on social media. Okay. Edema. That's, especially if you're very new in the prosthetic game, that's a really, really important one right there, because your leg tends to swell. So we want to keep an eye on stuff like that. Contact dermatitis. These are things that we want to make sure we know what we're looking for. That's why I say talk to a professional, because they can kind of give you some ideas. Cysts usually occur after a limb has been worn for months or even years. They typically common with above knee amputees. I'm trying to look at some of these others that I wrote down here. Fungal infections, ischemia. These are just some of the things I want you, ulcers. These are some of the things I want you to pay attention to, because I see a lot of pictures of this on Facebook, but what are we doing about it? And I hear a lot of times you've talked to your practitioner and you've not got the answer that you want. That is always frustrating for me to hear for amputees. I say, if you don't get the answer you want, you might need to go outside of that practitioner, ask for another practitioner's point of view. There's nothing wrong with that. Your practitioner his feelings might get hurt, but bottom line, you're here to take care of yourself, your leg, your skin. This is your well-being that you are responsible for taking care of. You can't leave that up to anybody else but you to do. So let's say he tells you, oh, well, I've done everything I can. There's nothing else I can do. I'd like another set of eyes on this. So don't be afraid to ask for that kind of stuff. You are the patient. You are the person that has to live with the end results of the prosthesis and what's going on with it. So don't be scared to ask for second opinions and get somebody else to look at your residual limb or your stump if you're having issues with it. Okay. We really want to put that one out there. So those are just some of the few things. I'm not going to, like I said, I've done a show on skin. I just wanted to talk about stump issues because that issue is really prevalent. And I know a lot of you deal with it. So I want to just, more than anything, I want to make you think about your stump and taking care of it, and just really kind of just going over some of this again with you, just so that it just kind of like a refresher, Amp Life Talk Radio is like a refresher course. So the stump, when we talk about the stump, in conclusion, what I want to add is keeping the residual limb clean and healthy. What can we do? How we do this? The stump. Cleansing the residual limb, cleaning it, done at night, mornings, washing it, wash it with normal everyday body soap or whatever you're using when you're in the shower. If you are going to use something that has a fragrance to it, make sure it's mild, nothing too harsh. And we talked about antibacterial cleaners and all that kind of stuff. They sometimes may do more harm than good. So research that. Listen to the show I did on that. Actually, that topic is in the magazine. So I actually wrote about that. Wet the skin thoroughly with warm water when we're looking at washing our leg. Hey, if you're one of those cold water people, knock yourself out, man. Yeah, if you want to do, ice cold water, have at it, man. You're like one of them Joe DeCino freaks. taking cold showers. I'm sorry, Joe DeCina. I'm not taking a cold shower, man. I love you, but I'm not feeling that, man. I ain't taking a cold shower unless I have to. Uh, that's all about getting outside your comfort zone. It's a whole nother show. Um, Use something mildly abrasive, like I would say once you're completely, let's make sure we're clear on this. When you're completely healed, get something soft, mildly, that can help you wash your leg, because one of the things that we have to do is, because your leg is enclosed in a liner all the time, we have to break away hair. And sometimes you need something a little bit more abrasive than your hand to scrub your leg with, to get some of those loose hairs to just naturally fall off and come off. Your sound leg goes through this naturally, hair just comes off. But when you're locked inside of a liner, your leg tends to just breathe that hair. You know what I'm talking about when you get those ingrown hairs, man. Those things hurt, don't they? Ooh, they're painful. So use something that will help you scrub your leg a little bit to hopefully get some of those hairs to just naturally just do what they're supposed to do, which is fall off and come off. Like I said, like you're washing your hands, work up a good foamy lather, and wash your entire leg. You don't have to like do something crazy or extreme with it. Just a good washing, like you're washing your hands before you're about to touch food or eat dinner. We typically scrub our hands pretty good. Rinse everything off, all residue of soap or whatever we're using, so the leg is clean of all of that. Pat dry it thoroughly. And when you're going to put your leg back on or your liner on, make sure you don't have any water inside of anything, because water can turn on you really quickly in those situations. If you are not healed, I would definitely suggest you make sure that you thoroughly dry your leg if you have some type of surgical tape on. Okay. The socket. Remember, guys, that is one of the things that causes trauma to your leg when we put our stump inside of that. Now, as far as the socket goes, can you clean it? Well, yes, you can clean it. I always clean mine because I'm always out hiking and racing and getting dirt and mud and everything else in it. So take the time, at least, especially if you've been out and you got dirt. If your socks are dirty, your socket's probably dirty. So go in there and check on your socket. Look into the foot shell, see if there's any dirt or rocks or anything down in there. Your socket itself, WD-40 is my best friend, man. Wipe that thing down, get all the dirt and grit. If you have compressed air in a can, blow it out, hold it upside down. Try and make sure everything's outside of your, especially if you have a pin in your locking mechanism. Try and make sure that's nice, free and clear of any debris or strings or anything like that. But wipe it down with a damp cloth, thoroughly dry it, and take care of that socket. The socket needs love just like your skin. Now, socks, guys, we can wash socks. Just throw those in your washer, dry them. That's a no-brainer. They're clothing, basically. So just take care of your socks. Don't be walking around with dirty socks on, man. Wash those things, okay? Wash them. And once when you go see your practitioner, ask him about some new socks and try and keep some nice clean socks. That's always a good thing. Stump problems. If you're having stump problems, consult with your doctor or your practitioner. Always consult with those people first and see if it might be prosthetic related or medical related before you do anything. But always check with the professionals, the pros, before you either don't do anything or do something that may not be the right thing to do. Guys, thank you for tuning into another episode of Amp Life Talk Radio. This was Stump Talk. Got stump issues. Hopefully we covered some of the stump issues on a brief talk tonight. This talk was basically so you will pay attention to the things that you need to do. Just these basic things right here will help you prevent a lot of issues from happening with your stump. So just a very basic care preventative maintenance, preventative just to your socket, to your socks, to your liners. All those things are so important to keeping us up and keeping us moving as amputees. So, guys, please, please, please pay attention to your limbs and your stumps. Check them morning and night. I want to thank all of you for tuning into another episode of Amp Life Talk Radio, a show for amputees and those affected by limb loss. I'm your host, Sean Harrison. I cannot be more grateful than I am to have all of you listen to the show and be a part of the show. Remember, we do have a live call-in line, 888-979-9334. You can call in at any given time when we're on the show. I will always make an opportunity or try to get to everyone that calls in. And for all of you that were over here on Facebook, I'm going to turn my attentions over here. I got to close some windows, so bear with me, guys. I saw some activity over here on Facebook, and I want to give some shout outs. So all of you over here on Facebook, thanks, man. Clarence, Sylvester, Mike, Karen, Marlene. Thank all of you guys. Marlene from New Jersey. Karen all the way from Montreal. Man, is it getting cold up there, Karen? You guys getting some snow in Montreal? I know we got some in Tahoe. Dave, everybody, I appreciate all of you. I'm so thankful that I have a show that so many of you listen to. I'm just really blessed, and I'm just really thankful. I will always keep working hard to try and bring you a good show, and we're going to work really hard at trying to make sure Amp Nation, the magazine, is going to be something that you all can really benefit from and enjoy sharing with your friends. Again, I want to thank all of you for tuning in to another episode of Amp Life Talk Radio. I'm your show host, Sean Harrison. Join me next Wednesday and every Wednesday at 6 p.m. for another episode of Amp Life Talk Radio.